Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the.
Yo, what's going on? YouTube, man. Long time no see, long time no talk. Everybody, to everybody that's already in the chat, shout out to you guys, man. You guys are the absolute best. For everybody that's new here, this is a safe space, especially if you are a Seahawks fan. And again, or also if you're new here, Calvin Domingo is the name. Steezy A. Smith is the game. Man, peace and blessings, everybody. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful and an amazing night. Before we continue and before I address you guys here in the chat, I just want to get this up on the screen real quick because, hey, man, I'm in a good mood. I'm having a great day, and I'm looking at this right here. I know it's early. First place in the NFC West. Yes, it's against or the season. When you factor in opponents, the Seahawks have played the Broncos and the Patriots, not the best teams in the NFL, but hey, you play who's in front of you. And so I hope you guys are feeling the same sort of joy that I am. And man, I'm happy to be here, man. It has been way too long. Give me just a second to adjust the camera here. So I'm going to remove myself for just a second, y'all. Give me All right. Now, before we do kick things off on the show here, I just want to address some of you guys here. Man, we got the Seahawk Nation or the Seahawks Nation. What up, Steezy? Man, what's going on, man? Town boy, go Seahawks, go Hawks, baby. You know what time it is. We have Miss Alina Dahl in the building. Alina, one of my biggest supporters. I hope you're having a lovely evening, Truly, the Seahawks Nation back at it again saying, go Hawks. We got Nah Chief, man, another one of my favorites. Yo, what's up, Steezy? Go Hawks, baby. Hope you're doing well. I know it's getting late over there in the ATL, but, man, it's still tune in, still show love. Got a lot of love for you, brother. We got Robert Stevens also in the building saying, what up, Steezy? Go Hawks, go Hawks, go Hawks. Come on, y'all. You guys know what time it is, man. Zayd, that's right. What up, Zayd? Zayd with the hot take. We went in the Super Bowl. I don't know about this year, but sometime in the next year or two, I can see it. We got my brother here in the building. Hi, Bon Steezy. It's Davey. Oh, what's up? What's up, little sis? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. I'm happy to have you here. And tell Bon Joe, I said, what's up? We got Rhea in the building saying, what's good, Calvin? What's good, Rhea? Long time no see, long time no talk. Thanks for tuning in. And sure, I'm happy to have you here too. We got a little sis in the building saying hi yet again. Special shout out, special hi to you. Tell Chenery I said hi and tell the rest of the family I said what's up. Thanks for tuning in. And then one more comment here before we kick things off on the show. Nah, Chief, hopefully I can go to the game in Atlanta when the Seahawks play so I can finally see them. Hey, I'd love for you to be there. Nah, Chief. And if you end up doing that, let me know how it goes, man. One of these days when I'm over in Atlanta, I'll definitely give you a holler. But hey, y'all, we have an action-packed, jam-packed show for you guys tonight. I know it has been a long time. And so I just want to let you guys know now that I do plan on going live every single Tuesday evening, hopefully a little bit earlier than 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, as I know that those of you guys that are on the East, it's getting a little late, right? And so I'm thinking like 6:30, 6 p.m. potentially, maybe 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Let me know if there's a specific time that you guys would prefer to tune in. I'll let you guys decide. How about that? And if you guys don't, then shoot, it might be 6:30 p.m. And so that's what I'm looking at. But every single Tuesday, y'all, expect a live stream. And I know I promised this in the past. I will also go back to dropping long form content now that the season is upon us. I know I'm a little late because we're entering week 3 and I'm just now kind of getting back into the swing of things. There's been a lot going on fantasy wise. A lot been going on in life, but like I said, man, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be able to talk Seahawks with you guys. I did have a couple of interviews with some of the guys on the team that I still need to get cleared. But once I get those cleared, I promise you guys, names like Rick Woolen, Jaron Reed, Jake Bobo, among others, Lofa Tatupu. I know he's not a player anymore, but Lofa Tatupu. I have a bunch of guests that I've been diligently getting into contact with. And I promise sooner rather than later, all those guys that I mentioned, and then some. I haven't even gotten into the full list of players that I've had, an opportunity and a chance to kind of talk to and, kind of inquire about having them on the show, whether it's for an interview or just as a guest on the live stream. And so definitely stay tuned and look forward to that, because I promise y'all it is coming. Real quick, just some, I guess you could say, housekeeping. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Steezy Smith TV right now if you aren't already, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win free Team Steezy merch. If you're catching this late, you can still comment down below and just say just followed you, whether that's in the chat or in the actual comments, and I'll be sure to write your name down live on screen to make sure that your entry is in for the drawing. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't ever miss a live show on this channel. And last but certainly not least, all super chats are greatly appreciated. If I do get a super chat that exceeds $50, you also win some free Team Steezy merch. And so if you guys are feeling generous tonight, don't forget that is an option. But let's kick things off, shall we? It's early, you guys. It is early. Actually, it's a little early for that. Speaking of early, it's a little early for that. But yo, one of 9 teams in the NFL that's currently undefeated, entering week 3, first place atop the NFC West. I want to ask you guys, I want to get you guys' thoughts on this real quick. With both the 49ers and the LA Rams dealing with a plethora of injuries to key players throughout each of their rosters, how big of a lead can the Seahawks build in the NFC West race? And I'm going to start while I'm waiting for you guys to kind of put your answers down in the chat. I'm going to start by saying that I think it's likely that Seattle can build a 3, 4, 5 game lead. I understand that the schedule will get tougher as the season progresses. And by no means am I saying that Seattle is lucky, because what happened to Tua Tagovailoa last week, I mean, that was it was terrifying, right? It's tragic. And I hope that he's not forced into retirement, but I also do believe, and I feel like if that's what's best for his health and for his family moving forward, then so be it, right? But with the Miami Dolphins coming to town this Sunday without a Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback, yes, I was looking forward to seeing, because that was supposed to be Seattle's first real test of the season, right? Against a healthy Miami Dolphins squad. But obviously with Tua being placed on IR this early today, that's not going to happen. And I'm not saying that the Dolphins can't field a competitive team, but Skylar Thompson doesn't exactly instill fear into me. And I don't think he instills fear into anybody, right? And so that's not a knock against him. I still think that he does have some potential, but it's two different things. And going up against Tua Tagovailoa and a Skylar Thompson, vastly different, right? And so I think that if Seattle is able to pull out yet another victory and go 3-0 in its first 3 games, oh boy, Seattle's beaten the Lions before. I do think that Seattle is capable of beating the Niners at least once. I know they're not meeting until week 6, but as banged up as they are, Seattle certainly has a chance, especially with the new head coach. There's a new culture. This team is different. I know a lot of the players are still the same from last year, but I do believe that the Seahawks can't steal a game from the Niners this year. And so if this keeps up, man, I really do think that the Seahawks can build a big enough of a lead in the NFC West that, they might just win the whole damn thing, right? And not the Super Bowl, but I'm talking about the NFC West crown. And so I want to ask you guys, before we kind of recap Patriots and Seahawks, again, with both the Niners and the LA Rams dealing with the plethora of injuries to key players, how big of a lead can the Seahawks build in the NFC West race, and how confident are you guys in the Seahawks winning an improbable NFC West crown this year? I know it's a little early. It's kind of premature, right? Especially considering the fact that the Seahawks are installing new schemes on both sides of the football, offense and defense. And so to have gotten out to such a great start. Look, the Patriots, I expected them to be a bottom 5 team entering the season, but they've been anything but. I think that defense, while not top 5, they could creep up into the top 10 by season's end. They're well coached. They have dogs. There's a lot of talent there. And they're surprising a lot of people right now, me included. But, I think that victory was definitely a quality victory. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're a top 10 team by any means, but that defense is legit. I think they're, again, well coached. And so I'm not going to look past that like I kind of did in week 1 against the Denver Broncos, who, along with the Patriots, I envision being a bottom 5 team in the NFL this year. I'll go back to some of you guys here in the comments. Not Chief is actually over here. Okay, he's praising the team. Steezy T, good quality shirts, man. Love it for the gym. Hey, like I told you, Not Chief, those are perfect for the gym, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I mean, that's what it's for, is to look good in the gym and to kind of motivate you in the gym, right? Just having that Team Steezy crest on the front of your chest. I mean, man, I know how good that feels. But shout out to Not Chief, man. He won a T a couple of months ago, and it looks like he's enjoying it. So I hope that you guys can as well. Not Chief is also saying Arizona could be a dark horse in the NFC West too, man. They looking real nice. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I know that the Rams are dealing with a bunch of injuries, but I had the Cardinals beating the Rams last week, and I do think that the Detroit Lions, who are on the road this coming Sunday to go up against the Cardinals in Arizona, I think they're on upset alert. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to fathom, the Detroit Lions, a favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, losing 2 games in a row back to back, in which, they're the outright favorite. But man, the Arizona Cardinals, that Lions secondary is vulnerable. And so if they can continue to keep Marvin Harrison Jr. humming, Trey McBride is a serious threat at tight end. I also think that they're well coached. Kyler Murray, if he can continue to extend plays and be the magician that he is there at quarterback. James Conner has been running all over people. The Arizona Cardinals, I think that they could surpass the LA Rams in the NFC West and kind of be the 3rd best team after the Seahawks and the Niners. Right now, again, it's kind of hard to rank those teams just because there's a bunch of injuries. But again, Seattle has a nice lead right now, and if these injuries keep hitting these other teams, man, this NFC West crown, I think it could be coming to Seattle sooner rather than later. But for those of you guys that are still out there in the chat, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that because of all these injuries that the Seahawks are a potential threat to steal the NFC West crown? Or do you guys think that as the schedule gets tougher, that the season gets tougher for the Seahawks? You guys let me know. I wanted to touch on this, and I know I had this up on the screen earlier. It's early, I know, but it's also very encouraging. Not only are we seeing the Seattle Seahawks undefeated and one of only 9 teams, right? But there's 5 Seahawks graded as top 5 players at their respective positions entering week 3. And I'm referring to Pro Football Focus. I know that their grades and ratings and whatnot, it's not the end all be all, but again, Seattle's getting some love. And before I get into that, I do just have to take a small pause. So give me just a second, you guys. I guess this live stream is supposed to be streaming and broadcasting on Facebook, but it's not necessarily there yet. So give me just a second, you guys. Apologies for the delay, y'all. But as we were just talking about, and I'm going to put this back up on the screen, there's 5 Seahawks graded as top 5 players at their respective positions entering week 3. And we'll start off with none other than quarterback Geno Smith. Again, all stats are courtesy of Pro Football Focus unless otherwise stated. Geno Smith, the 3rd rated quarterback in all of football right now, according to PFF, with an 83.9 PFF grade. We have left tackle Charles Cross, who was actually the highest rated offensive tackle in the entire NFL with a sparkling 90.2 PFF grade. Cornerback Reek Willen, a good friend of mine, the highest rated cornerback in all of football with an 84.3 PFF grade. Safety Julian Love, the second highest rated safety in all of football, entering week 3 with the magnificent 91.4 PFF grade. And we also have, last but certainly not least, interior defensive lineman Leonard Williams with the fifth highest rated, with the fifth highest rating amongst all interior defensive linemen at 81.7. Look, y'all, again, for Seattle to be getting the sort of love that they've been getting in the last couple of weeks, I know obviously starting off 2-0 certainly warrants, some of these individual spotlights, but come on, y'all, going back to Geno Smith, and I had posted this on Instagram and Twitter, so if you guys have already seen this, I apologize in advance. But since 2022, Geno Smith has won 19 of the 34 games that he has started as a Seattle Seahawk. 19 of those have been wins, which amounts to a 56% win percentage. 9 of those have come via game-winning drives in the fourth quarter or overtime. And for those of you guys wondering, so you don't have to pull your calculators out, if you divide 9 by the number of wins that Geno Smith has as a starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, 9 divided by 19 is about 47%. And so Geno Smith, 47%. So that's about 50. That's about half. 47% of Geno Smith's wins as a starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks have come by way of the clutch variety. I had somebody on Twitter, I still haven't had the chance to respond to this person, but somebody actually said that Geno Smith is not clutch and even had a few statements, a few words to kind of back up those claims. I don't know about Geno Smith not being clutch. If he's not the most clutch quarterback in the NFL, if he's not top 3, top 5, he's certainly one of the more clutch players in the entire NFL. But to see the way that he executes, I mean, with what I watched in week 2 against the Patriots, he was stepping up when the Patriots were blitzing, when there was pressure on him. He was stepping up in the pocket, delivering darts. He had more layups. Jackson Smith-Njigba, DK Metcalf, as you guys have all seen, I mean, the first pair of Seattle teammates to both have 10-plus catches and 100-plus yards in the same game. Both those guys had absolutely monster days, but they had opportunities to also create after the catch. And so for me, I really do believe, and I've said this in the past, that's one thing that Seattle offense has sorely lacked. Just layups on offense. And what I mean by that is just short, simple passes. Letting these guys create after the catch, letting these guys make plays in space, right? And Jackson Smith-Njigba, I mean, 12 catches on 16 targets for 112 yards. DK Metcalf, a whopping 18 targets, 10 catches for 129 and a touchdown. But Geno Smith, I mean, again, stepping up in the pocket, delivering under pressure in the midst of all that. He was delivering darts. He was accurate. He was clutch. I mean, he's a leader. Geno Smith right now is looking good. And the run game, Zach Charbonnet struggled, right? We look at the yards per carry here. Zach Charbonnet, 14 carries for 38 yards, 2.7 yards a carry. Not the most efficient of days, but again, that Patriots defense is legit. And so Geno Smith did all of this despite the defense having been gashed on the ground, despite the run game not necessarily being present. But I also think that with the Seahawks, they showed that they can win in a variety of ways. Week 1, it was the run game and the defense kind of suffocating that Broncos offense. And then in week 2, Seattle took to the air. Geno Smith was magical. DK Metcalf and Jason were dominant. Zach Charbonnet was solid. Tyler Lockett was Tyler Lockett. The offensive line, for the most part, held up, even though there's still work that needs to be done there. The defense, I was surprised to see the defense give up what they gave up in the run game. But at the same time, the Patriots, that's a part of their identity. They're a smash mouth football team. They are going to lean on the run. They have 2 running backs that are very capable, 2 running backs with different skill sets. And on top of that, they have an above average defense. And so I think you have the recipe for a ground game that can be successful against any defense. And not to mention, the Seahawks were also missing Uchenna Nwosu. And when he was out for the year last year, that's when Seattle's run defense completely fell apart, right? And so he hasn't even been here yet. And Seattle did shut down the Denver Broncos in week 1 in regards to the run game. And so, yes, it's definitely an area of concern, especially if you're as reliant on one guy to kind of shore up the run defense. And yeah, that could be a problem. But again, like I did mention at the top of the show, the defense is still learning a new scheme. The offense is learning a new scheme. And so I'm going to remove Geno Smith here, but that's kind of, I guess that kind of is one of my takeaways, right? Like, I know a lot of people, a lot of 12 specifically, are worried about Seattle's run defense, but don't fear. Uchenna Nwosu isn't there yet. And again, the scheme hasn't fully been installed yet. Like, it's still new to a lot of these guys, and a lot of these guys are still trying to get a grasp of it. And so to the 12s out there, don't be worried yet. I don't know if Uchenna Nwosu plays this week. If not this week, certainly in week 4. What is it, against the Giants? Right? Or is it against the Lions? I think it's against the Lions, actually, on Monday Night Football. I think Uchenna Nwosu has a great chance of coming back to play in that game. Otherwise, I don't know why Seattle didn't just put him on IR, right? But let me go back to you guys here in the comments before I do make my next point. We have Alina here saying 49ers are the unknown with all their injuries, so they could be the dark horse. Okay, it's a fascinating take, to say the least. I still don't think Seattle is being respected by the rest of the country, same as before. Well, for what it's worth, Alina, ESPN actually did have the Seattle Seahawks at number 7 in their power rankings. I think that's a little too high. And it was also ESPN that labeled the Seahawks as pretenders. Out of the 9 undefeated teams in the NFL, the Seahawks were the ones labeled as pretenders. And I'm not going to sit here and say that that's a bad take. It's still so early in the season, and nobody expected Seattle to be a Super Bowl contender entering the year. But I think it's too early to say that the Seahawks are pretenders. I mean, I think the Seahawks have a legitimate shot, especially if this defense and the offense are able to kind of gel and fully immerse themselves in those respective schemes. Watch out, again, especially if these injuries continue to pile up for the Rams and for the 49ers. We have Not Chief here saying, man, Geno is so underappreciated. Shake my head. Damn right he is. And Byron Murphy is going to develop too. Right. And I thought he had a decent game against the Patriots. I thought he was better in week 1. But again, as the season continues to progress, he's only going to get better. And once Uchenna Nwosu is over there, I mean, oh my gosh, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to be able to game plan against this defense, especially when you look at arguably the best cornerback duo in all of football. I mean, they're going to shut things down on their end. Julian Love has looked like arguably the best safety in all of football. The linebackers have been a lot better than anticipated. Jerome Baker has been, I think, phenomenal in coverage. Tyrell Dodson has been flying to the football. He's everywhere. Man. Alina here is saying ESPN is also the quickest to take the Seahawks down after only one loss or any little hiccup, whereas they give other teams so many chances. Shake my head. Honestly, Alina, you're not wrong. But who knows? Maybe this year ESPN has a change of heart, or maybe Mina Kimes has more of an influence as it pertains to those rankings. Moving along, though, you guys, let's talk about our takeaways here. I know it's been a couple of days after the game, and so you guys have probably had your share and your fill of Seahawks and Patriots takeaways, but I want you guys to answer this question. I have my takeaways. I'll share maybe one of them, but I want you guys here in the chat. So chat, don't be shy. Say hi. I mean, even if you don't want to answer the question, if you haven't already said something in the chat, man, come say hi, man. Say what's up, man. I want to put your name up on the screen and give you a shout out. Or if you're too shy, then maybe I don't have to do that, but say hi, man. Say hi. So while I wait for you guys, though, to answer this, again, what are your biggest takeaways from Seattle's overtime victory over the Patriots in week 2? For me, which takeaway should I give you guys first? I think that when it came to Seattle blitzing, a lot of the times Seattle didn't necessarily hit home. And I know that Jacoby Brissett isn't a statue by any means. In the pocket, he's certainly mobile, but I thought a lot of the times, yes, pressures are good, but if those pressures aren't resulting in either an incompletion or some sort of turnover, some sort of sack, then I don't think that those pressures are successful. I know it might sound kind of harsh to say, but and I still need to go back and watch the film again. But and just going off the top of my head, I just recall so many scenarios in which Seattle was blitzing or sending extra guys right after the quarterback. And when they weren't hitting home, there were a lot of lapses in coverage. Hence, Hunter Henry going off to the tune of, 9 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown. On the surface, yeah, that looks a little worrisome, especially when you consider the fact that the Seahawks have struggled in years past to defend tight ends. But again, and I do need to look at the film a couple more times to kind of confirm the suspicion. But a lot of those catches were essentially safety valve type of situations, right? And so, like I just talked about, Seattle not hitting home on a bunch of those pressures and blitzes and whatnot. And I know you can only cover for so long, right? And so this is kind of nitpicking because we're so early in the year. Uchenna Nwosu, one of the best players on his defense, has not been healthy, right? But I do think that Seattle kind of having those lapses in coverage when the pressure isn't getting there, I do think that's a little worrisome. Again, it's nitpicking just because we're so early in the season. The run defense, I'm not super worried about just because I feel like once Uchenna Nwosu comes back, once his defense is able to continue to learn Mike Macdonald's system, because this is a very complex system, right? Like, yes, the season has started, but it doesn't mean that everybody has had a full grasp or has been able to fully immerse himself in the system, right? And so there's going to be growing pains. I do understand that. And so with that being taken into account, I'm not super worried about the run defense. I do know that it will get better. I think Byron Murphy, with the presence of Uchenna Nwosu, I think he'll only get better. And so that run defense will definitely shore itself up as the season progresses. But I think one more time, for those of you guys that are just entering, whether you're tuning in on Facebook or on YouTube, or if you're going to end up watching the replay, my biggest concern right now is Seattle's ability in coverage when the pressures aren't hitting home. But again, I do have to watch the film again just to kind of confirm that's right. Like, who knows? Maybe that's not a real concern. But I mean, I did ask for a takeaway, and so that's an early takeaway of mine. I do see that some of you guys here in the chat have responded. So let me go over here and let me see what you guys are saying. Alina saying, I'm so happy to see they're able to make adjustments during the game. Right. And I do believe that Seattle has done a tremendous job through the first 2 weeks of making adjustments. We saw that happen after halftime in week 1 against the Broncos. The Seahawks just ran it down the Broncos' throats in the second half of the game. We're able to pull away with the victory. In week 2, the passing game was on full display. Absolute fireworks, right? And so, Alina, that's a great takeaway. Something that I was going to touch on, but you kind of beat me to it. So shout out to Alina for that. Nashif is saying here, my takeaway is that they still stress me out. And I had a lot of people tell me that on Instagram. I posted about, like I said earlier, Geno Smith. Almost half of his victories as a starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks have come by way of the clutch variety. And a lot of people in the comments saying, oh, but, Seattle still tends to find themselves in all these close games. Why can't they just blow out an opponent for once? Look, the Patriots are a lot better than advertised. The Patriots are going to be pests, right? And they did beat the Bengals in week 1. I know that the Bengals historically they struggle in week 1, but again, the Patriots are going to be a force to be reckoned with defensively, especially as the season progresses. And so I think it's fair to say that the Seahawks still stress out a lot of fans, but the fact that they're making adjustments and the fact that they're not getting gashed on screenplays, I think those are 2 good developments thus far. We have my guy Dakota here. Long time no see and long time no talk, but he's tuning in on Facebook. He said, what up, Cal? Can't Rich represent. Man, I ain't seen you in a long time, Coda. I hope you're doing well, bro. Cody here is saying biggest takeaway is how reliant we are on K9 in the run game. I think that's fair because, like I talked about at the top of the show, Zach Charbonnet wasn't very efficient on the ground. I'm going to double check here, but 14 carries for 38 yards. That's a clip of 2.7 yards per carry. Again, the Patriots defense is stout and a lot better than people realize. And so I'm not going to sit here and hit the panic button by any means, but I guess in going back to last year, in those games that Zach Charbonnet did start in the absence of a K9, he also wasn't super efficient, right? And so I do think that's fair, but at the same time, the offense line, specifically the interior, I do think that they're more to blame than, and this is going to sound a little harsh, I do think that they're a little bit more to blame for Zach Charbonnet not looking as good on top of the Patriots defense being so stout. And I do find it a little surprising that Kenny McIntosh didn't get any sort of run whatsoever. And so Dakota, I think that's a very fair point. Seattle is reliant, but again, the fact that Seattle was able to move the ball, especially via the air on a stout Patriots defense, I think that also shows how versatile Seattle is offensively. Like, Seattle doesn't have any singular identity on offense just because Seattle can run the ball and Seattle can pass the ball. And so we'll see as the season progresses. We'll see how this take kind of ages. But Dakota, I do think that's fair. But if the offensive line does get better, I do think that bodes well for Zach Charbonnet if K9 isn't in the lineup. We got my brother here in the building, live from San Francisco. So he is in enemy territory. I just got to put that out there. But, man, Richard in the building, man. What's up, brother? What's up, brother? Happy to have you here. Happy to see you here. I hope you're doing well. And, you had a nice couple of bounce back weeks in fantasy. It is a long year, though. So, keep making adjustments. But those fantasy leagues that we're in, it's been real fun to date. And I hope to see you again at some point in the season. I think that I might play you twice. I don't know. But, hey, shout out to Richard, man. Shout out to Richard. Robert Stevens, his takeaway, cardiac Seahawks. And this seems to be a theme amongst a lot of 12s. It seems like a lot of 12s are still, I guess they're not in favor, right? Or they're not necessarily in love with the fact that the Seahawks still cause so much stress, maybe a couple heart attacks here or there. It's fair. It's definitely fair. But that's Robert Stevens' takeaway right there. We got my guy Larry Batista in the building. Kumusta, Kuya. What's up, my brother Steezy? Let's go 2-0 Seahawks. Let's go, baby. You know what time it is, man. And we got Coda here with the defensive takeaway. Shout out to Dakota, man. He's very active here. Again, for those of you guys in the chat, if you guys haven't already answered the question, I'm asking for just a takeaway or two from that week 2 overtime victory against the Patriots. But here's Dakota on the defensive side. Our takeaway is controlling the run game. If the Patriots ran more than they did, it would be a different game. We played very well against the run versus the Broncos. Definitely. But again, I do think that the quality on offense of the Broncos versus the Patriots are two completely different sides, right? Talk about a tailored. No, actually, no, that wouldn't even make sense in this context. But I do believe that because the Patriots have an identity, they want to be a smash mouth football team. I do think that they're well coached. I do think that they're also better than people anticipate and realize. Ramondre Stevenson's going to have a year. I did just trade him in one of those fantasy leagues that I was referring to with Richard. And so I don't know if I'm going to regret that. But the Patriots, yeah, the run game looked good. But Dakota, I do think that once Uchenna Nwosu comes back, that's only going to make everybody around him better. And again, he is one of the very best defensive players on this team. And so we can't, and I'm not saying you are, but we can't rush to any sort of conclusions or make any sort of judgments until one of our best players is on the field and doing his thing out there defensively. And so if this keeps up while he's on the field, then yes, it'll definitely be a concern as the season progresses, especially as the season or as the schedule gets a lot more difficult. But thank you for bringing that up, though. Richard here is saying Charbonnet or Sharp Boots. Hey, oh, man, that's harsh, man. That is harsh. No comment. No comment. You guys could answer that for him. I'm not going to answer that. Charbonnet is crazy, man. I'm going to stick to Charbonnet. How about that? I'll answer. Charbonnet. Not Chief. Steve, I saw a comment earlier saying that if Pete was still the head coach, they would have lost against the Pats. Damn. if you missed it, it was Pete Carroll's birthday. He did turn 73 this past Sunday. So, Pete, whenever you get a chance to catch this stream, belated happy birthday, legend. And I hope to be able to have him on the show one day. What do you guys say, man? Would you guys like to see Pete Carroll on the show one day? Let me know, man. Let me know. But to kind of address this comment, just because it was his birthday, I'm gonna, and not actually just because it was his birthday. I do have a lot of respect for Pete, and I have made some hot takes about and against Pete Carroll in the past, but I certainly think that's a fair point. That's all I'm gonna say. But the inverse could also be true. Maybe they would have figured out a way to win. I don't know, but that's tough. I thought that comment was interesting since it looks like Coach McDonald's doing pretty good at adjusting him and Ryan Grubb, right? And then adding Dirty on the defensive side of the ball. I know he's not calling plays necessarily on defense, but I mean, he is still the defensive coordinator. And so, yeah, he's also playing a part in making adjustments, not just on offense, but on defense. And so, yes, Seattle does need to get better in the run game. Seattle also needs to get healthier. Seattle has to get better when the blitz isn't hitting home, when guys aren't hitting home after creating pressures. Stay disciplined in coverage. It's harder than it sounds, yes, and I understand that. I'm not sitting here saying that, oh, you have to be able to cover for 10 plus seconds, because that's hard, especially in the NFL with all these genius play callers and all these weapons of mass destruction on offense. But I do think that Seattle can get better in not having those lapses in coverage when the blitz isn't hitting home. Is it early? Is it too early for a week 3 preview? I'm not going to dive too deep into this, but if you guys do have anything else that you guys want to address or want to say, any thoughts, any reactions, any other takeaways that you guys want to kind of bring up, feel free to do so. Chat at whatever point, even though we're going to kind of move on and transition here over into week 3, which I do think Seattle has a great chance of emerging undefeated after 3 weeks, 3-0. Again, I do think that the Dolphins, they're not going to be nearly as explosive or even as competent on offense with the Skylar Thompson. I think he's definitely a downgrade. And I do think that the Seahawks defense should be looking their chops. I'm going to just say that. Oh, and Larry here in the chat, Seahawks versus Miami Dolphins. Yes, sir. It's early, so, we're not going to touch on this too much just because there are a lot of things, a lot of unknowns of practice reports. We don't know if K9's going to play. We don't know if, hopefully, Boye Mafe is okay. I know he did come out of that win over the Patriots with an injury. I don't know how serious it is yet, but I do hope that he's healthy enough to be able to play in week 3. But, yeah, Miami Dolphins are coming to town. The 1-1 Miami Dolphins versus the undefeated Seattle Seahawks. It will be at Lumen Field this coming Sunday. I think kickoff is scheduled for 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. As of today, the Seahawks are favored by 5.5 points in week 3 versus the Miami Dolphins. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I do think that the Seahawks can cover. I do think that the Seahawks will cover. I think eventually they'll come out with a 1 touchdown, a 7-point victory. A 7-point victory. And hopefully I could get a Dolphins content creator to kind of join the show before the week ends, and so we could preview that game together. And I'm still trying to find some time to be able to schedule another live stream during this week. But I think that with Tua going down, I mean, I don't think Tyreek is going to be as effective. Jalen Waddle is probably not going to be nearly as effective defensively. Jalen Phillips is still not at 100%. He is coming off, a torn Achilles. Bradley Chubb, I think he's still on IR, so we're not going to see him on the defensive side of the ball for the Miami Dolphins. They got absolutely torn apart, blown out in week 2 on Thursday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. Yes, historically speaking, they haven't had a lot of success against the Buffalo Bills, and it certainly didn't help that Tua Tagovailoa threw 3 INTs, and so that definitely put the defense in some precarious situations. But I just look, unless Skylar Thompson just balls out of his mind, and unless, there is the element of surprise there, but unless he's really balling out, I just don't see the Dolphins scoring enough points or being able to make enough plays offensively to be able to beat the Seahawks in Seattle, right? And so I want to hear some of your guys' takeaways, some of your guys' expectations. You guys can drop score predictions. I only plan on being live here for another, about 8 to 9 minutes. And so if you guys have anything you want to say about that Dolphins and Seahawks matchup, talk to me, chat. I mean, you guys are a little shy today, huh? You guys are a little shy, man. We got some. All right, so we got Not Chief here. I'm gonna head out, bro. It's getting late over here. Peace out, Steezy. Hey, Not Chief. Have a blessed night, brother. Till next time. Richard is asking, do you think Tua should hang him up? Man, it's kind of tough to speak on this, but, and this is going to sound kind of crazy. I hope that this isn't turned into a viral clip. But my honest opinion is that if he's given clearance by all the independent doctors and neurologists that he's going to see on top of whoever the Miami Dolphins in the NFL has in place for him, I think if he gets the clearance, I think that Tua should continue to play. But and again, this is going to sound crazy, I know, but I'm answering this because you're asking. If he were to hypothetically suffer another concussion, then I think at that point it's like, you know what? Yeah, I just signed a $200+ million deal, but my health, especially in the long run, is a lot more important than that money and whatever sort of joy he does find and have on the football field. I think if he were to suffer one more, then it's like, you know what? It's time to hang him up. But right now, again, if he's able to get the clearance from the right people, I still think that he can continue to play. He just has to be more aware. He just has to be more safe. I know that's hard, and I know that's easy for me to say, but I think that's kind of what it is, right? Like if he's not able to make the adjustments in regards to being able to play safer, like he could have easily slid, right? I know it's what's done is done, but he could have easily slid, right? Instead of going head first into Damar Hamlin, he had already gotten the first down. He wasn't going to score a touchdown, right? And so for him to kind of put his body on line, yes, it's honorable. Yes, it's you commend him. Yes, you respect it. But at the same time, with the sort of injury history, concussion history that he has, he just has to be a little bit more aware and to just play safer, right? And so if they're able to kind of drill that into his head, figuratively speaking, right? And if he's able to gain the sort of clearance that's necessary for him to continue playing, then no, I don't think he should hang him up just yet. But obviously, if he doesn't get the clearance, then I mean, he doesn't really have a choice, right? And it's truly sad. It's tragic. He's one of my all-time favorite players. And so I still want to continue to see him play. And again, like I mentioned, he did just sign that $200+ million contract, for crying out loud. And not all that isn't guaranteed, but not all that is fully guaranteed, even though a good chunk of it is. And I just don't know if he'd want to leave all that money on the table, or at least leave a good or a significant portion of that money on the table. And so we'll see what eventually happens. But yeah, you guys let me know what you guys think. Those are my thoughts. And again, I hope that that's not eventually used against me one day. But hey, prayers up for Tua and his family. And yeah, we'll just see what happens. We got Immortal EO Tech here in the building, man. What's going on, bro? Thanks for tuning in. He's asking, what do you think of people calling Seahawks frauds because they beat the Broncos and the Patriots? We talked about this earlier, right? ESPN did label, because ESPN, they dropped an article earlier today where they looked at each of the 9 undefeated teams in the NFL, and they actually called the Seahawks pretenders. And so what do I think? I think that that's more fuel, that's more motivation, right? The Seahawks, you could easily say that with essentially a new scheme on offense, a new scheme on defense, a new regime, that the fact that the Seahawks are even 2-0 entering week 3, it don't matter who the opponents are. I think that is a win in and of itself, is it not? And so for anybody calling the Seahawks frauds, I think that they're justified in saying so. But I also think that that's totally fine, because I know that the players are going to see that and they're only going to feed off of that. We all talk about it, right? This team is ultra talented. This team has underachieved in the last 2 years relative to the talent that is on the roster. And so because we're already seeing this team making adjustments on the fly in game, I think that's a positive sign. And again, one of Seattle's best defensive players hasn't even been healthy. And so I don't know. I guess I'm the glass half. How does it go again? Is it glass? If it's glass half empty, you're an optimist, or is it glass half full? No. Okay. So I'm typically on the side of, okay, the glass is half full. Like there's still more that you could see in a cup. Let me just refrain from that. But I'm just essentially what I'm trying to say is that there are still a lot of things that need to be ironed out. And the Seahawks are 2-0 despite all of those things, all of those factors. And so they could call Seattle frauds all they want. All I know is right now the Seahawks are one of 9 teams in the NFL that are undefeated. They're currently sitting at first place in the NFC West with most of the competition injured, right? The Niners, the Rams, they're injured. The injuries are littered across the roster. The Cardinals are looking good, but I don't think that the Cardinals are on the Seahawks level. They're not far behind. But they can go ahead and call the Seahawks frauds all they want. That's just more fuel to the fire, right? Larry here saying Alvin Kamara went off against the Cowboys last week. That's a little off topic, but he most definitely did. I mean, my gosh, out of the 25 fantasy leagues that I'm in, I don't have a single share of Alvin Kamara, and that's shame on me, man. Shame on me. We got Tim, man. My guy Tim here in the building. Don't think he should retire, but he should definitely take more caution. Okay, yeah, that's definitely along the lines of what I was trying to get at. And yeah, they really have to kind of drill that, not even just install, but they got to drill that into Tua's head. Look, if you want to continue to play and if you want to continue to be on the football field and to provide for those that you love, playing this game that you love, you just have to be more careful, especially given your history. I understand, a lot of times there are some things that you just can't control, especially when you're playing football. There's a lot that goes into that, right? But if he can't be more cautious, if he can't play safer, quote unquote safer, then he's just gonna have to retire. But Tim, great point. I think that we're both in agreement here. He should definitely take more caution, like for real. And then Tim is addressing what Immortal EO Tech kind of brought up here. I don't think they are frauds. It's not easy to get a W in the NFL. Just look at this past Monday Night Football. Anything can happen. Exactly. Out of the 16 games in the week 2 slate, I only predicted 9 correct. And so there were a lot of upsets. There were a few in week 1, but I mean, it's the NFL, man. It's any given Sunday. And the Patriots beat the Bengals, who many expected to be a contender in the AFC. And again, historically speaking, the Bengals just are not good in the first couple of weeks of the year. But that's still, if I'm the Patriots, I mean, that's a quality victory right there. And then they lost in overtime to the Seahawks. They didn't lose, but they didn't lose in regulation. They lost in overtime. So they played a hard-fought battle. Patriots are going to be better than people realize. I think Haynes should get the start over Laken Tomlinson. Yeah, there are a lot of 12s out there clamoring for that. And I think at some point during the season, I think we're going to see this. Quick story real quick here. Christian Haynes, I had an opportunity to chop it up with him at a Seattle Seawolves rugby game, a playoff game a couple of months ago. And AJ Barner was also there. Satoa Lamea was also there. What's his name? Michael Jarrell was also there. You guys have probably seen some of those interviews. I was able to interview AJ Barner and Michael Jarrell at that game. And I wanted to interview Christian Haynes, but he had told me that he don't do interviews. And I also heard from, people around the team and just from other people, certain people, that Christian Haynes is a little bit more reserved. He's a little bit on the quieter side of things. And so, I certainly don't blame him for turning down that interview. But yeah, just a fun fact. He turned down an interview from me. I do hope to be able to interview him one of these days. But yeah, no, Seahawks, I think that's something that will come to fruition as the season kind of goes along. I can't wait to see just how good Seattle's offensive line can be once Abe Lucas does return. And I think that if Christian Haynes turns out to be an upgrade over at Laken Tomlinson, watch out, because Charles Cross right now is looking like the best tackle in all of football. So if they can continue to gel and just get better as the season progresses, boy, the rest of the NFL better watch out. Tim here is referring to the Tua point, but agree they have to be more cautious. That's 3 concussions in the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. 3 or 4, one of the two, but either way, that's still 3 or 4 way too many. 3 or 4 too many, right? And so, yeah, it's not like, there are other guys in the NFL that have that sort of history, especially recently. And so, yeah, Tua has just got to be more careful. Again, it's easy for me to say, but that's the fact of the matter, right? That's what has to happen. Seahawks here saying if Tua keeps playing like he is, he'll end up like Sean Alexander at the end of his career, which is screaming and going down as soon as anyone gets close to him. I would hope not. That's not something you ever wish, upon anybody, much less an NFL player. But yeah, he definitely has to be more. He has to be more aware and just play it more safe, right? Well, y'all, Team Steezy family, you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun. If there's anything else, chat, that you guys want to put out there in the chat, let me know. Just to kind of give an early score prediction. Like I said, I will try to preview this game on YouTube later in the week. I'll let you guys know in the community tab. So just be sure to hit that notification bell and to be subscribed if you aren't already. But I'll be sure to give you guys an update via the community tab. Right now, and this is a way too early score prediction, but I will go with the Seattle Seahawks covering. Again, like I said, I think the Seahawks do win by a touchdown at home. Final score, Seattle 26, Miami 19. Seattle will enter week 4 3-0. We'll see how many teams are left undefeated after week 3. But I do think that Tua injury, or the concussion, has definitely helped the Seahawks a little bit here, which might only fortify. Let's say hypothetically the Seahawks win, right? Those that are saying that the Seahawks are frauds and they're pretenders or whatever because of the easy schedule, I know that they're only going to have more ammo to play with, because then they're going to point out the fact that the Dolphins didn't have a Tua Tagovailoa, if that ends up coming to fruition, right? We never know. Again, upsets are such a vital part of the NFL today, and they just happen randomly or whenever, right? And so, yeah, they're definitely going to have some more ammo to play with, but I do think that, again, the Seahawks are still implementing a lot of new things offensively and defensively as far as schematics. And so Seattle's still learning, and yet here they are winning football games, even though they're not at their absolute best. And so I think with Miami coming to town, they have some guys on defense that aren't fully healthy. And Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. Yes, they have some superstars there, Javon Holland and Jalen Ramsey. But even if Jalen Ramsey is going to shadow a DK Metcalf, I mean, JSN, he's going to keep doing his thing. Let's not forget about Tyler Lockett. Noah Fant has yet to be really fully involved, but I think that as the season progresses, they'll bode well for his prospects. And we'll see if K9 ends up making it, if he's able to give it a go this week. But I do think that we'll see some Kenny McIntosh, just because Zach Charbonnet wasn't the most efficient. I think it'd be nice to see a little bit of Kenny McIntosh. But this team, especially offensively, is versatile, and they can win in a variety of ways. And so I look forward to this Sunday, and we'll definitely look to preview this game more on Twitter, X, I should say, on Instagram as the week progresses. And so make sure you guys are following me on X and on Instagram if you guys aren't already. It's the same handle, at Steezy A. Smith. Instagram, I have TV, I think, at the end of the handle, but I'm going to address you guys here one final time before I do call it a wrap. Tim is saying appreciate. Okay, watch it, brother. Yeah, hey, brother, you know it's love, man. I'm going to see you later this week, but thanks for tuning in. Shout out to you and Larry, Alina Daw. Thank you, Steezy. Thank you, Alina, for tuning in. Seahawks, okay, a high-scoring game. Seahawks 38 to Dolphins 20. Wow. Well, I don't know how old you are, Seahawks, but if you're that confident, I'd say hit the casino and place a bet and smash that Seahawk spread. I mean, 5.5, but you got to win by 18. Sheesh. If Seattle were to score 38 points this Sunday, wow, I'd be mightily impressed. Not saying that they're not capable, but sheesh. All right, then, brother. Hey, it's love, brother. I love you, bro. Thank you for tuning in, Richard. We'll talk soon, bro. Definitely tune in every single Tuesday, bro. I'd love to see you here in the chat. You know, we could definitely chop it up here. And I'm not saying we can only chop it up here, but I'm just saying I'd love to see you in the chat every Tuesday. But thank you for tuning in, though, brother. I love you. And I love the rest of you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I do want to keep these live streams a little shorter just because I feel like when I go for over an hour, I'm kind of just rambling at that point. And so I would like to keep these live streams a little shorter, under an hour. If I do have a guest on, which I will in the future, obviously that's probably going to go over an hour. But for the time being, if I'm going live by myself, and if you guys are going to be a little shy in the chat, you can expect live shows to be under an hour. But man, I've had a great time here with you guys. I do just want to put this back up on the screen one more time. First place in the NFC West. Hey, y'all, nothing but love, as I like to say. Nothing but peace and blessings. Steezy out, baby. Again, this video is going to be dedicated to Mr. Todd Nas. While that concludes this video, we have loads of other content. You don't have to stop watching there. Other content on our channel homepage, as well as our social media platforms. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for us. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.